However, I have always liked to travel a lot on fairly extravagant vacations. I would invite John or John and his children to join on trips, but never made them feel like they had to come. That said, he was expected to pay for himself and for his kids. Except recently, he accepted every invitation. I would also give my kids things he considered extravagant, but I considered normal, so he felt like he had to give similar things to his own kids. John said with all the spending to keep up, his savings dwindled very fast. I expressed that I couldn't understand how or why he would spend all he had when he knew he couldn't afford it. He said it was like keeping up with the Joneses, only worse because it was at home so he couldn't block it out. John thinks since I knew his job, I should have had a basic understanding of his finances and realized this wasn't a lifestyle he could maintain. That the kind thing would have been to offer to pay for the trips and other things instead of dangling them in front of his and his kids' faces. Looking back, I probably could have realized that this spending didn't make sense for his salary, but I wasn't thinking about it. I don't think it was my responsibility to keep his finances in mind here. We had agreed from the beginning to keep our finances separate, so to me, that means paying for things separately. Is this really my fault? Update 1. After reading all the comments on my first post 3 weeks ago, I realized I needed more time to think about things. I also thought that given the situation, it would be best for us to spend the holidays apart to avoid any controversy. He wasn't a fan of the idea, but I eventually got him to agree to it. Last week, things settled down, so we met up to have a more detailed discussion about the state of his finances. A few more things were revealed. I found out that he had lost his job earlier this year and didn't tell me. He got a new job in October, but he went over 4 months without one while pretending he still had a job. During that time, he only received a small amount of money from unemployment, so he started putting everything on his credit cards. His new job doesn't pay as much as his old one, so he hasn't been able to pay more than the minimum towards his debts, which are now substantial. I feel like if he had just brought up all these issues earlier, this could have been avoided, or we could have worked something out. Now, I really just feel like I can't trust him. I can't trust him with money, and I can't trust him not to hide things from me. I just can't see going back and trying to make things work with him at this point. Since he doesn't have a place to take all their things, I've agreed to store their stuff in my garage until he gets more settled, which means I won't be able to make as clean of a break as I would like right now, but for the most part, it's over. Update 2. I like the suggestion I was given when I last posted 2 months ago, of paying for a storage unit for their things for a few months. However, my ex did not agree to it. He said it would make things too difficult because the closest storage location was too far out of the way. It definitely felt like he was still trying to cling to things. Since I couldn't get a storage unit in his name without his approval, I talked to a friend who was a lawyer about the situation. He helped me write up a notice that told him he had 30 days notice to retrieve their things, or they would be disposed of. After the 30-day notice was up, he still had only picked up a few things. I ended up calling his ex and asked her if she or their kids wanted anything before I got rid of it all. Well, they had been left in the complete dark about our relationship being over. My ex had been lying to them, saying I was sick, and then he was sick with COVID, and that's why they hadn't been able to come over. I was not at all surprised at this point. I figured she didn't know about the rest of it either and told her. She is livid, especially about the money for their kids' education since it was part of their divorce agreement. Anyway, the kids all got what they wanted, and I had a charity come and pick up the rest. It feels a lot better now that there is a completely clean break. Yes, I have gotten the locks changed and blocked his number. Since there is no reason for me to have contact with him anymore, this is probably the last time I'll be posting. I think in the future, I will probably look for more transparency when it comes to finances in any serious relationship. With how much he was lying, I can only imagine what else he may have been lying about. Had I known more, I don't think he would have been able to hide things. I am just so grateful and relieved that I was able to protect myself and my children.